Okay. Ok, so Giorgio.
Sì, ciao, sono io.
Okay, so finally you're with us. You were trying to participate in the Zoom also the other two sessions.
I don't speak very well English, but last days Vai, parlo in italiano. Non sono riuscito a venire perché ho avuto difficoltà nella connessione, però sono riuscito a aggiustarmi la connessione.
Ok, nell'email che ho inviato a tutti, ho visto che comunque c'è il link
Sì,
per poter vedere
li ho
le
già
altre
viste, sì.
sessioni. Sì, perfetto. Ok, quindi sei aggiornato per oggi. Benissimo.
Sì.
Ok. Pat, we start?
I think we can start, yeah.
Okay.
Waited a bit, and I mean, we will start, I think, kind of slowly. So, I mean, if Marwan will join in 2 minutes, otherwise, I think we can deny him access to the room after 10 minutes. I mean, sounds fair. So, Sam, you want to start?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Wait a second, let me put in. Okay, so can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. But the stage is
okay,
yours.
everyone. So you all received from Samantha the links to the previous classes in which we already talked about how Erasmus is structured for key actions. Then we focused a bit more on key action 2. And we saw that also there are different sectors in Erasmus+. So it's youth, adult, vet, higher education, and so school education, and so on and so on. So the three main sectors in which most of the organizations working in Erasmus try to focus are youth education, adult education, and vet. I think you had the chance already to check on the Erasmus guide what are the general priorities, so that are called horizontal priorities that cover all the sectors, and then the sectoral one. So you have, again, horizontal priorities that covers all the sectors. Every project in every sector must fit in one of those priorities. Plus, you need to address at least one sectoral priority according to the main target group that you have. So if you are doing a project in the field of youth, sectoral priority for youth, for adult, for vet, and so on. We're gonna see now one kind of abstract, let's say a project summary regarding a project for youth, regarding a project for adults, and a project for vet that we are currently implementing as Mina Vaganti NGO, MVE, and we are gonna see how is it structured, what are the main info that you need to put into an abstract, into a project summary to give an idea of what you're doing, and why is this important, why we do abstracts and why we make abstracts. So what we are seeing now with on the screen on Samantha, it's 8 Busters. 8 Busters is a project in the field of youth that we are implementing. We had the kickoff last month. It's actually my team. It's a project that I really like. And we're gonna see now how it is structured a bit. So you see in an abstract, you provide the name of the project, the action that you want to address. So it's a key action 2. It's innovation, it's exchange, and what is the target group and the sector in which you're gonna fit with this code. So here is strategic partnership for youth. Sometimes you use abstracts or project summaries also in order to attract partners. So here, this is a project that was already approved. So we have the whole partnerships. Sometimes you had a small chapter where there's already maybe the coordinator, couple of partners that are already involved, what is going to be their expertise in the partnership, and so on. Then you have a kind of a background context that you give for the project. So why are we doing this? This is a project targeting hate speech. So if you can, I think you can read it on your screen. It's quite big also with characters. It's a project dealing with hate speech. So it talks a bit about the problem itself. So dealing with hate speech has different levels of actual legal approach, and what is the context and why we want to do this, where we want to get. Then there's a small description of the project itself. So the project will include 5 partners and wants to address the fight against hate speech and wants to empower youth workers to work further on preventing the causes that lead to this dangerous phenomenon. So connecting more of offline, so real life behavior, and online, such as cyberbullying or every other way of expressing and using hate speech. So then you have the target groups. So are usually divided in main and second, or direct and indirect target group. So you have the direct target group, that is the one that is gonna be involved in the activities of the project. So this is a project in the field of youth, where the main target group are youth workers. So we want to give youth workers, trainers, educators, NGO members, we want to give them new tools to address this with the youngsters with which they're dealing. And so those youngsters that will be affected by these new methodologies and new methods that we're going to give to youth workers are going to be the indirect target group. So let's say the indirect target group, you can see it as the final target group. So all that you're doing is in order to reach them, to affect them. But of course, you need to give those who deal with them the right tools. Then you have a short description of the activities. So a C1 is intended as usually a mobility. So it can be a blended mobility of learners. It can be a joint staff. In this case, it would be a joint staff. So where youth workers, members of the NGOs that are part of the consortium will gather together in order to test what is going to be produced. So it's going to be in what is going to be produced usually in the intellectual outputs. So here we have 3 intellectual outputs. One is it's a guide on how to build a bottom-up campaign against hate and hate speech. Then it's an awareness toolkit, including all the methods, all the material, how to deal with this kind of problem. And then it's going to be an app. So I don't want to spoiler too much about the project. So also because we are about to develop the website in a few weeks, so there will be way more info there. But then there's a description, as you can see, in order to produce these results, what is the methodology that we're going to use? We intend to use non-formal education and human rights education methodology, mindfulness, and self-responsibility theory. So as you saw already, we have the context. So what is the problem? The problem is hate speech. What is the project about? The project is about to give youth workers, NGO members, new tools and new methodologies to deal with that. What are the target groups? Main target group, youth workers. Second and indirect target group, directly the young people. What are the activities that we want to do to target this? Methodologies to be used in these activities, and then the objectives. So you can see the objectives as the final result. So you're doing all of this and where you want to get. So you are developing these new methodologies, developing this new training, working with youth workers. You want to get to the youngsters in order to do what? To develop and disseminate tools and mechanisms for youth workers and young people, to equip youth workers and young people with the know-how, tools, methods for building a bottom-up campaign, to raise awareness of the importance of human rights online activism and youth mobilizations, and open up youth work to cross-sectoral and transnational cooperation across the field of youth. So the objectives are the results you want to reach. Where do you want to get with this project? We want to develop new tools. We want to raise awareness. We want to open up youth work to international cooperation and cross-sectoral cooperation, and so on and so on. Then, as you can see, there are more info about it on the project results platform for Erasmus+. As I said, in a couple of weeks, we're gonna have, we actually had the meeting the day before yesterday about the website, so it's gonna be available soon. And this is usually the structure of what you do to write an abstract, also in order, as we were saying before, to attract partners. So sometimes you have an idea for the project, you have it in mind, you know what you want to do, and you think, okay, I need 5, 6 partners. I mean, in the case of hate speech, it's something really powerful in this moment in the southern part of Europe or in the east or in the north. I need this kind of partnership. So you write down an abstract, you point out what is the problem that you identified, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then you use it to attract partners. And you spread these in order also to develop your partnership. So this was for a youth. As we were talking about, you need to fit this into some specific priorities. So just by reading this, if you have a bit in mind what are the priorities of the Erasmus program, you can also get directly to the idea that for horizontal priorities, we are talking about social inclusion, we're talking about common values, civic engagement, participation as horizontal. Then if we are talking about the field specific, like for youth, we know that that we are talking about enhancing participation in civic life, or enhancing young people to connect with public problems, public administrations, interest group, and the civic society, enhance critical thinking, and so on and so on and so on. So of course, while you're writing the project, you have the limitation of being able to choose up to 3, including the horizontal priority. So it will be 1 horizontal and 2 sectoral usually, and you explain why. But it was directly clear that we're fitting in this kind of priorities, but you always have to have them in mind, even while writing just an abstract, while developing the idea of a project, if you're fitting in the priorities that the program is giving to you. I don't know if I was clear so far. If you have any question, let's keep it quite open today. I think it might be a good idea. Yes. So you have any questions so far? There was something not clear about the structure, about why it's structured this way. If you, I don't know if it was clear, like the priorities that we were addressing. To me, just reading this abstract, it was quite clear more or less the field in which we wanted to have an impact. But if you have any question, more than open to answer. I see Chiara, there is a bit like with a question mark on her face. No? Everything was clear.
Later,
I mean,
everything
later.
is clear. Later, for sure, I will have some questions. I know, but until now, it's okay.
Okay. It will be also nice. Now Sam is gonna show you the same structure for a project in the field of adult education and one in the field of vet. And I think it might be nice at the end to see if you recognize if there was like a common path, like talking about horizontal priority. Maybe it was all in the field of social inclusion, or in another field. If you had this feeling that there was like a common path that we were walking with this project. But I think if everything is clear, we can move on from youth to adult. So I will leave the floor to Sam.
Sorry,
Okay.
I actually have a question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
tell me, Sarah.
No, I mean, I think I kind of got lost at some point. So we are talking about different sectors, and those are the key actions, right?
No, so you have key actions.
Yes.
There are one mostly facing mobilities, one is for the strategic partnership, international cooperation, and then you have the one
policy.
for policy
Okay.
recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, and so inside those key actions, we find different priorities, or there's another level.
You find different sectors. If you wanna talk, if you wanna like refer to them as fields, it's okay too. Different fields. There are youth, adult, vet,
And
higher
vet,
education,
okay.
and school education.
Yeah. Okay. And for each one of those fields, I get the different priorities.
Yeah, sectoral priorities.
Okay.
There are some horizontal. There are the same for everyone. So you need to fit into those, and then you have sectoral priorities.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if this was the only question, I mean, good. And I can get that it can get confusing a bit because you have general, then sectoral. It's really
it's like
structured.
A puzzle. You need to put together all the pieces. So I just needed.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good analogy, the one with the puzzle. It's true. You need to put together. Maybe I'm not addressing right the horizontal one, but I'm addressing too much of sectoral, and they don't fit in the project, in the program priorities, or vice versa. I mean, it's kind of a puzzle where you need to remind to put together all the pieces, like not leaving anything behind. Can be stressful, can be hard. But it's also the beauty of the job of a designer. When you're writing a project to put all of this together, it's also kind of satisfying at the end when you see that you managed. So no other questions? Again, Sam, the floor is to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, you can still see it. Okay. So this one is a strategic partnership for adult education. You see the title is really long, build up motivation, digital and language skills in migrants adults to favor work and social inclusion. Motivate. So from now on, you will only hear me saying motivate because the title is too long. So it's still K Action 2, so cooperation for innovation and exchange of good practices, specifically strategic partnership for adult education. This project was approved in Sweden. Mina Vaganti NGO is the Italian partner. So we are in this moment, like sort of in the middle of the project. And so basically, in this case, in the adult field is a little bit, let's say, tricky, because for Erasmus Plus, youth sector is until 30 years old, but the adult sector starts from 18 plus. So there is this thin line when you're writing projects in youth sector or adult sector. So usually when you're writing a project in adult sector and you would like to target, like, I don't know, participants that are 18, 30, you just write them as young adults. Okay, so not anymore young people, but young adults. So it's, let's say, it's the political correct way or of defining this target group in the adult sector. Then we have the adults, and then we have the elder people that usually is from 50, 55 plus. Okay, so we have, let's say, 3 different age band inside this this sector. So usually this specific sector has the priority to involve disadvantaged young adults, and elder people. Specifically, we're talking about always needs, unemployed. If we focus on the labor market, there can be people that need like an upskill, or they would like to change, let's say, the field of work. So, or they are socially excluded. For example, now it's a real priority in a lot of national agencies this year, the elder people, and their social exclusion from the society. So, for example, this year they're also focusing on a specific age band in the adult field. So in this case, Motivate project has, as you saw in the title, is focusing mainly on migrants, refugees, and also asylum seekers. So the idea was to really foster the integration in the community, but not just related to the soft skills, but also to go a little bit more into deep, so to cover those, let's say, features, we can say, that are always being a barrier when they are going in a new country. So we are focusing on the language aspects, for example, in the project. So there is also, of course, let's say, the community aspect. So we are talking also about the culture differences, the behavior differences, and also to give them some other specific skills that can help them to enter the labor market in their own STEAM country. So we tried to focus on the integration aspects on 360 degrees. So let's say the human part, the emotional part, and the more technical part regarding the labor market. So we have quite a challenge in this project. So the target group, the direct target group, we have 2 of them because we have 2 stages in the project. So the first stage is to train the trainers. So we will develop specific programs that the trainers can use to support and to empower adults with fewer opportunities, such as refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants. So you see that the objectives of the project is to offer migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers a more efficient way to increase and develop a cocktail of skills. So as we are covering the integration in 360 degrees. And of course, it's also part of their ability to compete on the labor market of the hosting community using the non-formal learning. So here we still have like a strong impact made by non-formal education methods in the adult sector. So of course, it's not like the usual programs in which you have like just a professor that is teaching you on one way. After the end, you can make questions. No, it's more interactive, especially because these sort of activities can help them at the beginning to go like to go out from their comfort zone, especially when the linguistic barrier is really, really influencing their, let's say, their life in the new community. So you see that we have 3 intellectual outputs in this project. So the Motivate course for professionals. So in this case, we are preparing training format for the trainers, professionals, so they can also be like linguistic and culture mediators. So those that have experience and they are working in the field with this specific target group of migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. Then the second output is the program for migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. So the first step is to train the trainers, then we will involve the trainers, so that because they are working daily with this target group, to help us and cooperate with the consortium to co-design a specific program for them that is covering, let's say, this cocktail of skills that we aim to give them. Then the third one is the Skills Angels community for community involvement. So we will form a group of people made by non-formal education trainers and experts that will cooperate together to work directly in the community. So they will prepare, plan, and organize some specific events that can be like raising awareness events, social inclusion specific events. So we will create this group that will directly work in the micro realities of the community. So let's say that we are trying to cover everything with these 3 outputs. In this moment, we finished the first one. We are working to develop the second one. Unfortunately, with the COVID situation, we are a little bit on standby for the face-to-face activities, especially because with this target group, we are talking about first generations and newcomers. So it's really difficult to like establish a connection online in this case. Like you need also the presence to see them face to face. And in this case, I'm sharing this from my experience because I am also a linguistic and cultural mediator. Like it's really difficult to establish like an emotional connection if you are online. So we're on standby and we're waiting, hoping that in the autumn, the COVID problem will be solved. Then regarding the activities, so we have the transnational meetings. So those meetings that involve the partner staff. So usually you have 2 representatives from each partner organization. They meet of course, in the countries involved. We have Kickoff Meeting, as Patrizia was saying about 8 Busters. So it's the first meeting in which you decide all the, let's say, the step and the work plan. Then you have like intermediate meetings, because as I was saying before, one thing is what you wrote in the paper, another thing is the implementation of the project and the internal and external factors that can influence it. And then you have a final evaluation meeting in which you gather all together and you evaluate the results achieved and you prepare the report. Then in this specific project, we have 1 joint staff in Sweden that will be involving the trainers. Why this joint staff is, of course, to test the Motivate course for professional. So everything that you create in terms of output should be tested. As I was saying, you test internationally or at local level. So internationally, we decide to test the course for professional. It's easier to make professional move instead of doing internationally the activity with migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. Because of bureaucracy, sometimes it's really difficult to make them move from one country to another. So we choose to do locally the activity with this specific target group, because it will be easier with the bureaucracy, and then we can make it like longer, so we can take time and we can adapt everything based on the needs of the single national group. And then we have the multiplier events. That is the event that you do at the end before the final evaluation meeting, 1 for each country, in which you present to the stakeholders the results. In this case, of course, we will involve hosting centers, the municipalities, NGOs that are working with migrants, refugees, and asylum seeker, educational institutions that are providing them with the, let's say, formal education. Also to propose them our methodology that we develop, and maybe they will integrate our programs in their programs. We don't know, we will try, we will see. If you'd like to know more, we have already 2 newsletter of the project, and we already have the website if you are interested, I mean, in this type of project. So basically, this is the project. So once again, you should really, when you're deciding between youth and adults, remember that there is this thin line between the 2 sectors. So depending on what you would like to do, like choose it. So think about really youngsters when you have the youth, even if it's until 30 years old, and think about it more like the young adults and elder people when you are in the adult sectors. So questions?
I don't have questions, but it's very, very nice project. Both are really amazing project. And
Thank you.
yes, I hope that both will work well, because we need this kind of improvements.
Thanks a lot. I have a question, Sam. Were
Yes.
you the one who chose the title, the super long one?
No,
Okay.
it's not me, sorry.
Because you have to know that in the office there is this kind of thing when when a project have a weird name. It was Samantha's project. She wrote it. She decided it. It's fine. When it
What
has
are you
like
saying? My titles and my acronym are always amazing. I don't understand what you're talking about.
I don't know.
I just messed
what
it
is
up
the name?
one time in my working life, and everybody say no, but that was you. No, just one time.
That's just because we have a project that is called Ring Some Saft, and it's because of Sam. So just for you to know.
I was not really creative with the acronym in that project. Sorry. I cannot be amazing every time. Okay,
that's true.
good.
I mean.
So to end this part, so let's say that for the youth and adult sector, you're focusing a lot on the so-called soft skills, so communication, interpersonal relation, also public speaking. Then now we will see the vet sector, if I manage to. Okay, so this one we didn't readapt it yet, the article, but I'm in charge of this project, so I can tell you what we are doing and what is it about. So here we are focusing more in the vet sector on the hard skills. So it's more professional education in this case. And you notice the difference because also in the vet project, you are involving professionals that are participating and are part of the educational program for the other target group. So this is Migrants in Fashion, specifically project for ladies with migrant background. So when we were writing this project, there was this research that we did at the consortium, and of course we noticed from our experience that usually when we were implementing activities internationally or at local level with migrants, we had the majority of the participants were male. So it was really difficult to involve females with migrants background in the activities. They were like staying home. Also for the youngsters, it was difficult to involve them. So we said like, okay, so we will write a specific project for them in this case. So you see that the target group, we have 2 target groups directly involved in the project. So in the first stage, it was the professionals. So we involved some ladies, like entrepreneurs, ladies with migrants background that have already their business in the fashion sector. Why to choose the fashion sector? Because when we were talking with the ladies, we found it that usually when they come here, they already have some skills on the making clothes, like nail art, hairstyle, everything of this kind can be considered as fashion. So it's like, oh, that's perfect. So we will make the project for them. So we individualize for each country 3 female entrepreneurs with migrants background that have their own business in the fashion sector. So we prepare a specific training format to help them how to be a mentor for young ladies with migrants background, age 18-35, that are from first and second generation. So the new arrived, but also second generation that are feeling like socially excluded. They're staying in the house. They're not really participating in the community life. So I was part of the of the pool of trainers during the joint staff with the ladies. So basically all of them were having a business in a different type of fashion also, like Milan fashion, or the new style of fashion, like really with the sustainable fashion in Berlin and etc. So it was really, really nice. So we trained them on how to become a mentor, because we provide them with the specific like activities regarding mentorship. So you said sometimes they say like you can know a lot of things, but then to teach them is a different thing, to pass the knowledge and the competencies to people. So what we provide them with during the training are activities and knowledge specifically to be able to be mentors for these young ladies. So they experiment on themselves these kind of activities. We were 3 trainers, so we get the feedback from them and we improve it and finalize this training format. Then the second output is a guide specifically targeted for operators that would like to implement activities with young ladies with migrant backgrounds. And in this case, each partner specifically developed one module of this local program, and we implemented with the 10 female migrants aged 18-35. And in our cases, it was online because it was during the COVID. So, but it was about entrepreneurship. So how to set your business, how to create a business plan, how to create a communication strategy. So it was possible to do it online. And now we will collect all the local programs and we will create the guide. So we create one unique long-term program to train female young ladies 18-35 with migrant backgrounds in order to open their own business. Of course, we're not talking about like a huge business in fashion. And I mean, we are in Erasmus Plus, so we will not give them the money. What we will give them is we give you the basics. So at least you're not starting from zero. We provide you with the information with the national funds to open. And then we help you to develop your business plan. And then if you really want it, you can apply for it. So it's really challenging, especially with the language barrier, and because when you're talking about entrepreneurship and everything, you have like a specific sectoral language, but we managed. So at least one winning for us. Then the third intellectual output will be an online platform, because and that will be specifically for the second target group, so meaning the female migrants aged 18-35, so the newcomers, first or second generation, and it will be an online program. because based on the fact that I was saying that sometimes they don't really want to go out and participate in this kind of events, we decided, okay, so we will prepare one program for the operators that are able to directly work with them, but we will provide an online program for self-learning for them, so they can do it at their house if they want, and it's still a possibility. So we decided to go both on parallel, because we're not so utopistic, we were really realistic. Okay, some association, they manage to work with them, for some others is difficult. So what about the ladies that unfortunately they don't have connection with this organization? So we will prepare one self-program online for them, so that is still work in progress, and we are working on that, so to finalize this path that was envisaged for this project. So in this case also, of course, we are working more on the, let's say, micro realities. So let's say that we are working with the local and regional communities with this project. And of course, if we succeed and we have good results, like we met with the indicators, we will propose it also on national level. European level is for sure, because we will publish through our networks. But let's see if we can really provide this kind of programs at national level, like they are accepted from the government and they are provided to those, let's say, hosting centers or specific organization, or with the social operators that are working daily with this target group. Questions? Yes.
So I understand.
Super active.
Yes, because it's very, very interesting, and I work in every sector that you mentioned, so I'm really involved. But in this part, I don't understand the third part. So the first part, you teach how to be mentor. In the second, how to build a business plan. In the third part,
in the second part, the professionals that were trained to be mentors are doing the local phase with the young ladies. So it's not the partners, it's them, it's the professionals. So these ladies are receiving like education and training from professionals that already have a business.
Perfect.
I forgot to underline this part.
Okay. What I don't understand very well is the third part. They will learn by themselves, but this kind of information or other kind of information.
Yes, we will prepare a specific online course with the basics on how to create or establish a small business in the fashion sector.
Okay. So okay.
We will not go, like, we are not private, so we will not have like the long or really specific and sectoral, but we're providing them the basics. So what we experience it at local level, we try to reframe it on self-learning online. So we will readapt and create again new modules that can be like really not fast, but they can go with the flow, because of course, like when you're learning online alone, the attention sometimes goes down. So it's need to be really appealing for someone that would like to learn alone. So now we are working on this part, so that also those that don't have the possibility to be involved in activities with organizations, at least they have this online. And it's the first step. So maybe after they finish the course online, they would like to have more.
Yes.
And they will take the first step to go outside, out of the comfort zone. So we're trying to think also about the psychological aspect, to provide what they need, not just in terms of the technical things regarding entrepreneurship, but also to adapt it on their psychological comfort zone bubble in this moment. So it's not really easy, but we are trying. We're work in progress in this moment.
And you already have worked in the first and the second step? First and second. And how it was the answer of the ladies?
Oof. So basically in the first step with the professionals, really interesting, really challenging, because sometimes they were more focusing on fashion per se, and they were having business from different kind of fashion. So sometimes they were fighting for the concepts, but for the rest, I mean, they were really engaged. Each one of them has a different story, and they were really into it. So it was also really inspiring. I was part of the team of trainers that implemented the training course. It was the first one to start. They were really amazing, like to also to share from their perspective, because some of them, they established their business without training, without studying, just by themselves. So they had a lot of tips and etc. And that was really, really nice, like from the field, like fighting every day to do it. So it was really, really nice. And we tried to take this and to put it also in the local phase. So it's like, okay, so we take this from your experience, we provide you this that are with the competencies to be a mentor and support you in this phase. And then they were implementing the local phase. Local phase, for at least for us, it was online, not so easy, especially because the topic is really hard when you're starting from zero. And but actually some of them, they were really excited. They immediately asked for if there were some grants and etc. So I made my research. One day we just took it for the presentation of their business plan, and for me to present some Italian fundings that they could apply. So out of 10, 2 or 3 of them, they really would like to open their business. So it's already a success. So if out of 10, 3 of them we will really make it, is already a success for us. So now we are just missing the, I think, the hardest part, because it's the self-learning path online. So work in progress.
It's in Italian language.
English language plus all the national languages involved in the consortium.
Wow.
Yes. All the outputs that you create, usually in a project, they are for sure in English, but then you should translate them in all the national languages of the consortium. For the research reports, that maybe they are like 400 pages, you can prepare like a short summary and just translate the summary in the national languages. But training format, programs, they need to be fully translated in the national languages, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Okay, so in this case, I will stop sharing the screen because no need. Oh, so I can see everybody. Okay.
Can I ask the question, Samantha? Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I have one related to the language, because you said you will write in English and then you will use the local language. But then how do you overcome the language barrier with the migrants if they don't know how to speak English or another local language? I mean, if they just moved from their countries, then how can they engage in these kind of programs and be active? I mean, participate in it.
Okay, in our cases, the course was in English because the candidates were coming from countries in which they study English. So we decided, okay, it was impossible to do it in Italian because they didn't have the level of language to do it in Italian. So we had a discussion with them and we decided to do it in English. So in this case, the local phase was implemented in English. In case you have this kind of difficulties with the language barriers, you put you as a specific cost in the project translators.
Okay, because I mean, I would guess that people with that have a lower level of education or that are not educated at all will have more difficulties in being included in a society. So I would think about them as the major target group.
So basically, when you're deciding the target group, you can be a little bit more specific. So basically, at least for migrants, you can decide and be specific if they should be from first or second generation, and you can add also the level of education. Like if you think that is too much, then you can directly put in the project proposal that you will involve a group of people, at least for the testing, and directly in the project with this minimum, let's say, level of education. So this is up to you, actually. In this case, you can go in detail. You can really specify what is the target group that you would like to involve in the project. So let's say that when we are talking about low, say people that have a low level of education, we are going more on the adults sector, because usually, let's say that in the vet sector is more to people that have like really, really basic skills, and you're going to an upskill process related to the hard skills. So this is depending on the specific target group that you would like to work with, and then you see that you're going depending of them on the sector.
Okay.
I have a question. Hi. And sorry if I missed this already and you said it, but I was wondering how did you decide that this was the right project for your target group? Like, for instance, why fashion specifically? Did you do research before, and did you talk to the target group to ask what their requirement was, or how did you make the decision to do this specific project instead of something else?
Yes, I said no problem if you miss it. So basically, from our local experience, we had the possibility, like all the partners. I mean, when we were deciding what to do in this project, and we were having like Skype calls and have some sort of briefings among us, and then we all noticed that talking with our network organization that work with migrants like daily, they explained to us that usually the ladies, they prefer to stay at home. It's really difficult to involve them in activities, but they make us notice that usually the majority of them has this sort of skills on making clothes, doing hairstyles, or nail art, and other, or making, I don't know, like jewelry or small accessories. So we noticed that this was a common thing,
Okay.
now in the evolving countries. So we say like, okay, so maybe it can be more appealing for them if we add another detail, so it will be something related to fashion. And it worked, because when we were saying that the course was on how to open a business in the fashion sector, they were excited to participate, because it was something that was like they had already some basic, like say, practical skills. So it was something that could be connected with them, because the first thing when we were promoting the program, you say fashion can be anything. Mm-hmm. Fashion can be different. So it's also how to promote your type of fashion. So they were really excited to participate. And also this, we noticed also when we were doing the line program, that they have completely different approaches to fashion, and they propose a different business. So in that case, we decided from, let's say, talking with people. So we didn't base the decision of fashion on papers or secondary data analysis, but we decided talking with the people that are working in the field and daily with this target group. And in this case, at this moment of the project, I can say that it was the right choice, because the ladies were really into it.
Okay.
And if I can add something on top, because the question was really important, I think it's, of course, like, how do you decide that it's the time to do a project for youngsters regarding this topic? So there is part of the research that you do before starting to write, all the time, trying to understand what are the needs of a particular I don't like the word, but let's say class. So like people in between 18 and 25 usually have these problems. So we can do something targeting this. Adults over 50, they usually have this kind of problems. So we can do something targeting this other problem. So it's something that you do for all the projects. You never know, because you're not in the head of the evaluator, if he will think that it's relevant to the target group that you want to help. But it's part of a research that you do all the time before starting to write, till you get to a point in which you think, okay, this might be a good activity to target this specific problem. Can give you an example. I don't know, we actually designed a project for youth, but young adults, so like 18, 24, it was the range with the age, in order to give them emotional intelligence skills, because there's like a huge number of people going out of the childhood, like at 18, they feel they get into adulthood and they're not ready emotionally, and there's a huge number of youngsters in depression. So trying to do something, giving social emotional intelligence in order to face easily the challenges, well, more easily, the challenges that you will have to face changing your status in society. And this, it's done, like Samantha explained really well. They had the chance to do it locally with the people that they know already. So it was easier probably to get into an actual field research about what were the needs. It's something that you do for all the projects. You never know 100% that the evaluator will understand your point, but that's more or less how you choose. Like I want to read something youth. Let's do some research. What are the needs? What are the gaps in I don't know, the skills that they need to get into the labor market, and so on and so on. So it was a very good question from my point of view. So
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think Sarah also had another one.
Yes, I'm not sure it's a question or like a comment, but so this project gives skills and information to the participants. And I was wondering if you actually wanted to give like microfinancing or like small loans, you could go with like an AMIF project, right? They could like the topic of this project also fall into the other financing.
I'm sorry, the audio to me was bad. Okay, Simon got
you mean
it. So
to
maybe
establish their business, or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
after?
Yeah, I mean, could this be linked to another project? For instance, like I was thinking of like an AMIF project to actually give the financial input to get the business started.
Well, usually when you're working with the programs that are related to education, you don't receive money. Like you'll be trained, there are activities and etc. For example, in my case, when they were asking me, I don't know if you know Invitalia. It is a specific agency that is working for the ministry and has specific funding programs for potential entrepreneurs. So being the really young people, or one specific for ladies and etc. So I provide them with like grants in which you present the business plan for your idea, and then they give you the funds. Of course, there are different type of fundings, but usually they don't go for like another in this case there is not another program by the commission with which you can open your or just no, I don't think that fashion is accepted as me, Patrizia. Not no, No.
It
So,
depends if you are innovating and bringing up a new disruptive technology that will work in the fashion industry. But no, but
yeah,
also
in that case should be really innovative. I mean, you cannot open like your small atelier or something, I think, no?
Okay.
yeah, but also in that case, usually the funds that are given by the European Commission are to help you get close to the market. It's not actually for you to start your company. Usually you have your company,
Yes.
then I need funds to get from level 1 to level 8, where level 9 is the market. So the Commission might help you to do that, but it doesn't help you to open, and it doesn't help you to actually get in the market. Like there are a lot of rules when you get also funds for the SME, where you cannot use those fundings for marketing, for direct sales. You cannot use those money on the market.
Okay.
You can get close and then you go on your own.
Okay.
But yeah, there are like these rules.
Yeah, but also for Smash should be something that is really innovative.
Yeah, like super, but it doesn't really affect the field. Like, I mean, I followed the project that got approved, and it was not a wardrobe. How do I say comodino in English? It was like an electric one. It was something super that I read the project and I said, okay, it's never going to be funded, and they did it. So it has to be innovative. Doesn't matter the field. It can be fashion, can be anything else, but it needs to be something that will change the market. Usually European funds are looking for this.
Yeah, innovation is everywhere, basically.
I guess that with this kind of programs, you're allowed to open this social enterprise, kind of.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you well. Can you speak close?
No, I was just saying that with this kind of programs, I guess you are allowed to open something like social enterprises. I don't know if this might be the case.
But again, it's not to open, your business. So they give you the tools. I mean, a project like the one that Samantha was talking about, Migrant in Fashion, it will give tools and knowledge to the people involved to open their project, but it won't give them their project, their activity, but it won't give them the money, even if it's a social enterprise and this kind of stuff. So, but you can gain again knowledge, new skills, something that will help you do that, but not really the fundings to open.
No, for that there are usually specific national fundings for entrepreneurship, to open a new business. So you can, like here, for example, in Italy is Invitalia, the most famous one that have different type of grants, and the same is in the other countries. But usually with these programs, they don't give you like the money. Yeah, take it and then open your business. No, but they give you at least the basic skills and competencies for free, because you don't pay for the courses. And if you will go private, to become a really like a top player entrepreneur, you need to pay a lot for this type of courses. So at least with these programs, you're provided with the basis. So you're not like starting from zero, but you know at least how it works. You're able to at least prepare an acceptable business plan for free. So you're provided with training and education for free. And then of course you have also the information like, look, in Italy there are this and that grants, they works like this, these are the rules, criterias, and everything. This, yes, so you're not alone. Like these programs will help you to take the first step if you want to. Okay, other questions? No. Okay, so we can go with the best part.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, no, wait. We have one last question.
I don't know if it's happened that, like for example, in some calls, I found that some programs can have some synergy with other programs. Let's say, like for example, AMIF requires also some synergies with, for example, an Erasmus Plus. How would that work? I don't know.
You mean synergies with different funding schemes?
Yes, yes.
So like for the same project, you can get funded by different funding schemes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, no, that's usually double funding, and it's highly legal. Highly legal, like don't try. Highly legal, like you want the European Commission to really punish you, you go for double fundings. But well, it depends. There are situations in which there can be European funds and national or regional or local for some calls, but it's usually specified if you are allowed to have other fundings going on. At European level, as far as I know, you cannot take a grant from I don't know, Horizon, and for the same project from Erasmus, and for the same project from another thing. It's but even in Erasmus, you cannot get funded the same project twice. There it's always double funding. It's always highly legal, at least misunderstood.
Okay.
But yeah, so there are cases, national and European, local and European, absolutely, but different European fundings, it's
Don't do it.
yeah, just don't, why take the risk in this case? Unless it's directly written, you see it, you can ask for fundings both from Erasmus and Horizon and that. If it's allowed, they will tell. Don't worry.
Sorry, but does the Commission funds all of the project, or is it like a percentage of contribution that the organization has to give?
Depends on the call.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Sam, I saw you wanted to answer.
We were fast.
It depends on the call. Depends on the call. There are calls in which is specified how much the partners should contribute. Calls in which it's funded 100%, but at the same time, you always have to show that you are financially stable. Because there might be cases in which it's financed 100% and the Commission will give you 500,000 euros, and they need to know that you are able to manage those money. So you always have to be stable financially. And there are cases in which if it's co-financed, so if, I don't know, the Commission will give you 70%, in example, it's a common way for co-financing with the Commission. It will give you 70%. You need to be able to show that you can manage to provide the other 30%. And so on for different percentages. But it depends usually on the call. And like I can tell you since we mentioned it earlier, in the SME instrument, or new name ESC Accelerator, they fund you 70%, and you need to prove that you have, or you have a plan to get the other 30%. So if the project is fine, they want to give you the 70%, but you cannot show that you will be able to get the other 30%. Sorry, rejected, not funded anymore. So depends cases by cases.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? So I think we can move to the next part.
Yes.
Okay, so me and Sam, we were thinking about having you to prepare a short abstract. Doesn't have to be long like the ones you saw on our website. Even even just basic context. So like, you know, you want to do this project because this is the situation, really basic 1-2 lines. What is the need that you identified? What do you want to do? The kind of, now you are getting familiar with the outputs that that you need to provide in a project, no? So like training an app, a guide, a manual, research. So you saw few of these. So we were thinking to give you 30 minutes so that you can, if you want to do a bit of research, choose your field or sector, so youth, adult, or vet, and write a short abstract of the needs that you identified, your idea for the project, what you want to develop. I think it will be nice also for you to practice into thinking about a possible partnership only with the countries. So like I thought about this project involving Italy, Spain, Greece, and Germany for X reasons. That was the idea we had. And so we can, I don't know if Sam wanted to stop the recording, or you can just close your camera.
Just a second, because I'm writing them in the chat what they should write in the abstract. So they
okay.
Okay, so the sector, short context and needs, maybe the target groups or target group, depending on. Okay, so I'm putting just 1 or 2 intellectual output. Don't go crazy with it.
Yeah, but even, I mean, after 2 sessions and a half like this, if they can get to 1 and be on point, it's already a great thing. So. And we're thinking you can turn off your camera, mute yourself so you can yell, scream, cry, whatever, while you try to write something. And then we can all talk about it together for more or less 45 minutes. So like to give a short evaluation to see what was on point and what not, what to improve. Is that something that you would like to do? To try and test yourself?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Don't worry, we won't be harsh. So it will be a gentle feedback, considering all the oral backgrounds and that you only had this couple of classes on project designing and management. So I will let, oh, Sam left. And here she is again. Okay, so I will.
Yes, sorry.
I will let Sam giving the go. So once she wrote everything in the chat.
I had almost finished, but then I deleted everything. Moment.
I see that someone started doing research already. So while we wait for Sam, do you have any feedback so far? Like it was clear more or less the morning, you understood well the structure of a project, what we want to do with this kind of projects, what are the aims? We didn't talk too much, too little, took questions at the right time, the wrong time, didn't want to talk to us. I mean, any feedback? It was good. It was good. Sam, you were great. I was even better. Fabulous.
Oh.
We
Sorry.
can't
You muted
hear.
yourself. Okay.
Okay.
it seemed clear, but now that we have to put it into practice, let's see how it goes. So maybe the question will follow.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So
Okay,
it's-
so I wrote you in the chat the small things that you should write in the abstract. So you choose your sector. If you would like to go to youth, adult, or vet, is your choice. Like sure, context and need. So what is the problem, the situation? What are the objectives of your project, the target groups that you would like to address? Then you decide, depending on you, 1 or 2 outputs and 1 or 2 activities. Don't go crazy, just for us to understand if we could pass you clear how to structure an abstract. So that's it.
10 to 12, I would say 12, 20, 30 minutes.
Maybe 40.
So 12:30.
12:30.
Yeah. Sarah was really happy about
Okay.
it. So 12:30.
So you can like mute yourself, take out the camera, and then we will call you back when it's 12:30. Not we're still having the call open, so you will see like time is finished at 12:30. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
then I'll come up with another idea, maybe talking with someone. You know, I mean, being a designer, it's sometimes it's really like you're having a coffee with Sam and talking about something. It's like, yeah, that's it. I wanted to do something with migrants. I can do this. You know, so it's a really creative job.
Okay, we have the recording finally.
Okay. Perfect. So we can start again, and so welcome back, everyone. After your 40 minutes of first mini challenge as a project designer, I would like to go with everyone's idea. We can bounce back feedbacks. It can be really interactive. Like I would like this to be a safe space in which no one feels like with doubts of sharing their abstract, being scared of the feedback. So let's have just a very casual conversation about what you brought. So there's someone who would like to start? No one. You want us to call you?
Okay, no, wait. We have a
Giuseppina.
volunteer. Yes.
I will start. So, do you want me to share the file or? Okay, no. So
Not necessary. No, just because it's the hosting that should allow you to share. But try to share your screen. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think she can actually.
Maybe we
Yeah.
are all allowed to share.
But I cannot find from where I can share.
So on the bottom you have a green arrow.
At the bottom you have this green button say share screen. Yeah, you should go with the mouse on the bottom, and then it appears like all the buttons that you can choose.
No?
No. No, it's making so many issues. I don't know why I have this problem.
Okay, just wait. Okay.
Giuseppina, if you prefer, I can start if you need time.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't allow me to do that. I don't know why.
Okay, so maybe I was just the one allowed to share the screen. Okay, no problem.
But I can
just
share
use
it too, but
You can also press Alt more S to share.
Can you see that now?
Yes.
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 Gosh. Okay, so this is my little project. So I choose the sector youth and I named the project Stay on Board. I decided to have a partnership with NGOs in Italy, Bulgaria, Romania, and Spain. And this is because the topic is about early school leaving, which is a major problem in Europe. So in the context, I wrote that research suggests that the early leavers from schools are more prone to social isolation, unemployment, or financial issues, and poor health. And that research found that 70% of young people leave school because they are not able to identify their potential alone, and therefore to figure out which educational path they could pursue in the future. So the objective of the project is to introduce in schools new tools and way of assessment, which are meant to highlight the potential and competencies of students. So what we expect is that each student will have higher confidence and will be able to recognize capabilities. And as a consequence, they will be willing to continue to study and to apply and improve the skills over time. So the goal is to reduce the school abandonment by 20% in the first year of the project. We have two target groups, the direct target group, which is the school teachers and after school trainers, and the indirect target group, which is the young people. So I'm a bit confused about the output, but what I said is that the intellectual output is that we will set up extracurricular courses, and we will introduce educational games so that teacher will be able to evaluate capabilities of each student, because sometimes it's the teacher that cannot recognize the ability of the students, and then they are kind of lost in their choices. So the first step is to have teachers that are actually able to recognize those skills. And then as activities, I have courses for members of the direct target group at local and national level, so that they are able to identify, activate, potentiate student performances in certain fields.
Okay, so if you want, Sam, I will start and we can have a discussion. So first of all, I love the idea, really, really nice. Love the name, stay on board, easy to remember, really get straight to the point. A few things though, if you remember, we talked about youth, adult, and vet, but there are two other fields. There is school education and higher education institutions. So of course, if you're targeting school teachers and targeting directly schools, it would be better in school education as a sector. We didn't see it. We showed you youth and adult and vet. And in that case, you can have a variegated partnership like schools and NGOs, this kind of stuff. But like here, I can see that a problem will be how will you reach school teachers if all the partners are only NGOs? So, but even this, it can be really a thin line, because when you do a project thinking about youth, of course you go thinking about people like teenagers or kids. The first thing that comes to your mind. So you're brought to bring in schools into this process, but there's a specific field for that. Regarding the idea, well, let's say really, how can I say, important aim to reduce school leaving by 20% in the first year of the project. So 20%, it's already like a huge thing if we're talking about European level, but even on national and local. Then in the first year, so maybe you still have to produce a lot of the things that you want to do with the project. So it's a very ambitious, that was the word I was looking for. Very ambitious target. So maybe not really feasible, and that will be something that will give you less points in the eyes of an evaluator. But I mean, you know what they say, go big or go home. So it's I like the fact that you're this ambitious with your project. I think it was very well identified the need. Why this? What are the troubles that people that leave school early can face in life? And regarding the intellectual output, it's actually a very good idea. There are a lot of projects in which is foreseen a gaming course. So like creating a course, in this case would be an extracurricular activity involving games. So structured as a game in order to gain some skills. Like in this case, as far as I got, it would be to give skills to the teachers to recognize certain problems in their students, and so maybe to use these games with their students and so on. So the output was actually quite on point. and it's well seen most of the time. But yeah, I mean, the idea was good. It's probably you didn't fit in the sector of youth. From my point of view, it was more of a school education. But really good idea, good premises, and good idea with the output. I'll leave the floor to Sam if she wants to add something.
Actually, I would say that she is totally on point in the school sector, because one of the sectoral priorities to tackle early school leaving, actually. So this will totally fitting in the school sector, and it's really good. And I don't know if I understood right the output. So I think that these games are this assessment method to help teacher to recognize the, let's say, the potential of the students, or not. It was something, yes, good. No, that's really an interesting way, because it's as you said, usually they focus on the students and they don't focus on the teachers, because in that case it's the teacher that should be able to recognize the potential of the students. And if you create these sort of games that are say it's an assessment instrument, but is presented as a game, I think that it will be a really nice idea, especially because if you propose the normal assessment instrument to the students, they will be always feeling stressed, also for their self-esteem, depending on the results. And instead, I think that if they are let's say presented as a games, the results will be better, and will really allow the teacher to understand the fully potential of the student. So this is my feedback as a trainer, not as a project designer. I really like this type of methodology, so it's really good. And also the activities. So yes, I agree with Patrizia. This will be totally fitting in the school sector, for sure. And I also like the title, Stay on Point. Really, really nice. Just one thing for the partnership. Well, it's well balanced for the south and east, but maybe try to checking maybe the statistics on Eurostat. You can also see if there are some northern countries that have this problem, and in case the answer is yes, it will be good to involve them, because in this case I'm talking about the geographical balance. If they don't have this problem, it's okay, so they don't need this project. But just in case, like always to check in the Eurostat. Like sometimes you can also check while you're checking the Eurostat, you can try to involve the countries that are on top, so meaning they have the worst percentage, so you're focusing in your project in the country that they most need this type of action.
Yeah,
this is just one tip.
Statistics from the website. So those are the the 4 worst ones.
They're already the first one. Okay, good job. That's a wise move. Okay, so I don't have nothing else, but I would like to also have the feedback from the others, like in your perspective, like with the outsider eyes, let's say. How do you feel? What impression it gives you, this project idea?
Let's start with Chiara, that it's
Don't
unmuted.
feel shy. Sharing is caring, and this is also applied to your feedbacks and your opinion.
I need 1 minute to think about it.
Okay,
Please.
so someone else is waiting. I mean, you don't need to assess it like too much, even just
like
the idea.
me and Patrizio, just your opinion. Don't worry.
Yeah, like I like the idea. I think the gaming course is cool. You know, this kind of stuff.
Yes,
I don't think it would be effective.
I think that we need to think the school in another way. it can be a pleasure place when you can experiment art and music and other kinds of experience. I think that the student feel the school like something very old, very close, and we need to change a bit the system, working with the teacher, but proposing also something attractive, something how to say, that make them curious. I think that they feel really far from the school as institution, and we can help the teacher, but we need to renovate the system. I think that we can focus on the teacher, but we need to open a bit more. But I think that extracurricular course and educational game are a good start to be more interesting the learning process, I think.
Thanks for sharing. The others, I can call you on the order that I have on my screen, like Sarah.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really nice idea. And it just came to mind that it could be also interesting to like focus on children with disabilities in order to make them feel even more like part of the class and to enhance even more their capabilities. This could be like another little focus.
Yeah.
I liked also the fact that she introduced this gaming tool, which is very, very innovative. And I like that in the objectives, Giuseppina put the goal just to reduce the school abandonment by 20%. So she already fixed some, let's say, quantitative target that is very important by my point of view.
Thanks, Maurice. Viviana, you cannot escape now.
It's a very nice project, and I think it tackles a real problem, but I was wondering whether it needs to be a bit more specific, because it kind of sounds like there is an objective, which is preventing kids from leaving school, but the kinds of activities are kind of vague and doesn't specify exactly what you would do. And I'm wondering whether you need to be a bit more specific than that.
Okay, very, very interesting feedback. Let's say, of course, while writing a project, you will go more into details. This is an abstract, an idea of something, so you will go also more into details, of course, about what is this gaming tool that you're introducing, like what kind of games, what kind of activities, what do you think you will obtain using this. So yeah, while writing the project, going a bit, the more into details you can go, the better is in the eyes of the evaluators. The worse is for you once you're implementing the project, because then you need to follow all those steps that you talked about. That's why, like I said, it's really ambitious to reduce by 20%, because it might affect you negatively when the evaluator is reading the project, but if it decides to give you the grant, then if you don't reach the 20%, why? We gave you the money, you did the activities, you didn't do your homework if you thought you will get there, or you didn't implement the activities right if you thought you would get there and you didn't. So sometimes being specific on some things, it really helps. On others, it might backfire. But I think it's a good feedback, and also, and I think Sam noticed already the same thing. You see, when you talk together, we already put a lot of more inputs and in this project already. With the input from Chiara, we can I wouldn't say maybe write a whole project description box, but almost, because we have the quantitative data from the work of Giuseppina, and then Chiara gave the context in a more like a storyteller way. Like, you know, kids are bored in school, so we need to make them feel involved. The more you use arts, the better. It was already creating a story around the activities that we want to implement in this project, you know? So sometimes it's really important, especially when you're in a team like we are in MBNGO, to just bounce ideas back and forth, and you can always add something new, see things from a different perspective, add a little detail that make your project go from 85 to 90 in the evaluation and get funded. You know, this kind of stuff. And that was actually what I was aiming that we will reach with this sharing the feedbacks from each one of us. So also to get a bigger perspective of every idea. So thanks a lot, Giuseppina, for sharing.
Guys.
Really cool idea. And I think you can stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, who is
and
next?
Then we can go next, yeah.
I will go.
Okay, Chiara, share your screen, show us the magic.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I choose youth sector. The project name is Let's Connect. And I choose NGO and public high school in Italy, Spain, Portugal, but also Norway, Lithuania, and Macedonia. I will explain later why. Short context and need. I think that teenagers today show obviously difficulties in creating solid friendship, feelings good among peers. New technologies have contributed to creating a social distance, and often these generate feeling of loneliness and loss of the ability to be in solidarity, to be understood, and to understand the others. It's necessary to promote experiences of comparison, dialogue, and development of empathy, facilitating the sharing of feeling and experience. The objective, the general, is increase empathy between teenagers from 14 and 17 years old. The specific is improve self-esteem through comparison, create awareness of their feelings, improve communication skills, and building trust through dialogue. How I say the target is 14-17. So I have, I think, two outputs. The first one is like one anonymous app pool to give them the freedom to express their needs. For example, if we are talking with them, they can vote something. What is your need? What you need to talk about? It's anonymous. And I imagine this app, for example, we need to talk of trust between teenagers. So if trust get 10 points, we start to talk about trust. And after the dialogue, we can make a good practice guide for the teacher. The activity, I think that I imagine like a circle time in order of what the app show us, trust or love or friendship, they need. And then peer-to-peer activity, like two people, to build something new. I want to make them in contact, better if they don't know in between. And I want to experiment to create connection. I want to make them, give them the opportunity to know them doing something. I think that make some practice experiment make them easier the socialization. And after that, they create something. It will be good talk about feeling. And after that, the group make this experiment maybe more time, and the group is built. I imagine that the same group will repeat with another class or with another group what they make with them. So they will be a teacher. Okay, I don't know if my idea is clear. And I choose like Italy, Spain, Portugal, because I don't look for any statistics, but I think that we have the same way to communicate. But I think that the real importance in this project is the difference. So I wanted to understand how teenager in Norway, Lithuania, or Macedonia works. What are they feeling? What they need to talk about? Do you understand my project? Maybe I can stop to share or not.
No, you can leave it there, please.
Okay.
Well, before starting any feedback, I don't know if Stan wants to go first this time. I really love the enthusiasm. Like you knew what you wanted to do. Maybe a bit, there's a bit of confusion in how to get there. But really, I want to do this. I know I can do it. I love the enthusiasm. Like the presentation was super good. Super good, really.
Thank you.
Congrats for this. And it's always nice to see someone really involved into social issues like, like the empathy that there's been between people, among people.
I really touch what they need. So for me, it's very clear, my idea. Maybe I have some difficulty to explain in English, but what they need is get in contact. And
yeah, look, with me, I mean, how can I say in English? You broke an open door.
Yeah.
Do we say this expression in English?
Yeah.
Like, when you talk about increasing empathy between people, helping them to connect, to understand each other, we're talking basically about social emotional intelligence. In 2 years, I wrote 2 projects about it. So it's really, I have a soft spot for the topic. Love the idea. I think in a way that it's structured, but I will need Sam's help in this because I'm more focused on the K2s, but it seems more of a K1 to me. Not with the output, but more like the main focus, it's on the physical connection between people. So more on the mobility, the activities that they will do together, and it's okay, but I think maybe it's a bit out of scope here. And again, if you're talking about involving schools, working with teenagers, I will be probably a better fit into school education than youth. If your main target are actually, I see that you're right in the partnership NGOs and public high school, so you also want to involve schools in this. So I think if we were talking about need, so like neither in education or work or training, it would have been okay in youth. The way they structure like this, it looks a bit more like school education to me, but we will have also Sam's feedback on this. The idea of the app, it was used a lot, and it really needs to bring a different value to still be considered innovative and to be able to be developed as an app by the Commission. But I like the idea of creating a space in which they can share and we can get the general idea of what they want to talk about in order to focus the other activities. It's kind of something that might be included in a needs analysis of the target group. So again, for this, it might be seen by the commission and an evaluator as something that you should have known already when you were writing the project. So in your needs analysis, you know what are the soft spots, you studied, you did research, what is the soft spot of this target group in communication so that I can address it with the activities of the project. And I will change probably the main target group more on those who work with teenagers so that they can transfer the knowledge, and maybe involve some teenager that can work as a mentor.
Yeah.
So that I think it was already in your idea, something like this.
Yeah.
So you involve teenagers, you train them, and they became ambassadors, mentors,
exactly.
kind of stuff for the activities of the project, for the results. So that is something actually really good that it's being used and it's really well seen. So that was a good point. To me, I would put them as an indirect target group, but focusing more on the youth workers in case of NGOs or youth organization, or school teachers if we're talking about schools. So that was my feedback on the way the idea was structured. But again, love the enthusiasm. I don't even talk but it's something that you can really work on. Like I see here a very good potential to adjust and write the project either in youth, focusing more on youth organizations and maybe already youngsters that are not in school.
Yeah, also.
Or school education if you're targeting high schools.
Okay. Yes, basically, I agree. I mean, if you want to involve the schools, there is that you are more focusing on the school sector. But actually, I think that you can also implement this kind of project in the youth sector, like making the NGOs working on that, especially if you would like to use the non-formal education methodologies. It's not a problem. You can use it in NGOs. I totally agree with the topic. I was a teacher in a private school for needs for 2 years. So especially for that target group, I just was seeing their type of relationship and etc. And then, yeah, I agree. These new generations, they're too focused on this, on the new technologies. So in this case, I'm a little bit concerned with the application, because of course it can be a safe space, it's anonymous, it's online, but maybe that can be a start. So not to put the main focus on that, because we are still on something technology. So it's really important then to develop like face-to-face.
Yes, and this is the start, because I understand that they have a lot of difficulty to start to talk. So I need to think some facilities to make them talk, to help them to talk. But this is just
with the app, you will not have problems. They like the applications a lot. No, but it's good. And in this case, if you have the program that is going like from activities to 1-2, then you go for people, like there is a sort of progress in these activities in which they step by step go out of their comfort zone and they start to communicate more until they're able also to communicate and have interpersonal relationship in a group of peers, it will be really, really good. And in this case, actually, I have different feedback. I would go to have the direct group with the 14, 15 years old, but this is not that what I'm saying is right or wrong, or what Patricia was saying is right or wrong. It's depending on how you would like to frame the project and the, say, on the individual, on the project designer. Like in this case, I really would like to working directly with the teenagers in the project, like test directly with them as a direct target group. And then of course in the project I can then produce a program that I can give to the youth workers or propose it to the schools for extracurricular activities, whatever. But for example, for me, Samantha's project designer, I would go to work directly with them in the project. And it doesn't mean that we should have like one international mobility with the teenagers. It can be that we focus directly on local level the project. Yes, so that especially because I think if they have problems like with their peers, then you go abroad, there is maybe the linguistic barriers, people read that you don't know, but maybe you don't have a good level of English, so okay to have an impact, but not in that sense. So I think that if you work locally, like in a programs of months, I think, because in this case for you it's really important that the program has a continuity. So it's not like 7 days. It is for this that I don't see it as a K1, because usually the training courses or even the youth exchanges, they are like short term. So you have the impact like in 1 week or in 2 weeks. But I think that if you would like to have a real impact on these teenagers, it would be really nice to have this activity continuously, like in also 6 months to see the results, but really like a more huge amount of time that you're working with them, especially because and I totally agree with the sort of ambassadors, because that is already a difficult age. If they see the adults that are trying to involve them, absolutely not. But it's easier if it's a peer that is proposing them and trying to involve them in these activities. It will be a really, really nice idea, actually. So for me, it's okay. Maybe to frame it a little bit, if you will develop this project, to define a little bit more what is the role of the app. So to explain, okay, this is let's say the app will be the roots and then we will spread it. And then also, to clearly define the program that you would like to develop. So like on a long-term perspective. Then that's it for me.
Thank you.
What about the others? What do you think?
I can start with Chiara. I really like the project. It's a very good idea, and I mean, it's a hot topic, so it's something we really need. But I have a curiosity. How would you measure the progresses of this project? I mean, when would you think that the project is successful?
I imagine like a class. So I imagine that a teacher will understand if the relation are improving or not. But I think that if the project will be active, for example, 6 months, I can make a test for the teenager, anonymous test, to understand if this kind of activity give them give them better feelings with the compagni, with a classmate or not. I think that they need to give us the indication of the project. We can look, we can understand, but they are the first protagonist of the project, and they need to give us the feedback.
Okay. Thank you.
Giuseppina is making really tough questions to everyone. Eh?
But I
But
mean,
that was really a good one.
I mean, so she deserved a very good question too.
Yeah, no. This was a really good one, actually. A really good one. It's one of the first things that you might ask if you go on writing this project. It's okay, how would you assess it? It's what do you want to reach, and how would you say that you reached it? So it was really on point. Thanks, Giuseppina.
What do you think, Giuseppina? It can be a good idea. Test them.
Yes, but it's very hard. I mean, I have no kids. I have nothing to do with young people this age, so I don't know how much they can be influenced. Like, can they really be objective on their feelings? Like, does it really come from this project, or is it something like that can change every day based on the peers? You know, they are very like moody, I think, at that age. But I mean, I come from a science background, so for me, you know, it's like numbers. So when I see those things, it's very hard for me to say, okay, how do you measure this?
And it's very interesting perspective. Yes, I think that the question need to be really focused on the project. Well, for example, which action, which experience of this project make you feel better? What you suggest? What do you think that I think work with them as a team. They need to understand that to improve everything, they need to be to participate. They cannot be an external actor. They are the main actor. So we need to understand what they think, and they need to understand that it's very precious, their opinion. So I think that specific question, and also dialogue will give us the answer. I think that there is no other way to test it.
Well, I mean, I think it's nice that they get involved and actually someone cares about their opinion. It might give make the difference actually at the end of the project.
I hope so. Thank you.
What about the others? I think both me and Sam will have something to add, but let's keep it an open floor. So Giuseppina shared their ideas. What about Sara, Viviana, Maurice?
How would you work with the teachers, or would you have other people come into the schools to basically do the project?
Sorry, Vivi, can you repeat the question?
Would you have mediators working in the schools, or would you train the teachers to do the program by themselves?
I think that at the beginning, mediators, but then the final objective is that the teacher be capable to do this, to not be, I want to change the idea of school. Mm-hmm. School, I think that need to go in another way. We need to give to the student the space to talk. Okay, now I think the teachers are not prepared to do this. So they need mentoring or tutor or to start. But then the objective and that they become independent.
Yeah, because I think this is something could be integrated into your project. It could become a training program for teachers and not direct to the kids. It could have a bit more information about how you train teachers and how you would make them like independent in delivering this.
Yeah, I think that at the beginning the teacher can can learn, can see how to work in this kind of area, and then go.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah.
So Chiara, how do you think, now we are just talking among us, if you know this, we are starting to structure this project. And how do you think you will have the biggest impact? Like, what do you think it will be the target group to, because now we are getting back to the, is the main target group the teachers? Is the main target
this is the point.
The teenagers? So in order, one thing that can help you choose while you're writing a project, it's how do I think I can get the biggest impact? Let's talk about, let's think about it as a domino effect, no? Because of course you won't work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids or professors or teachers. You will work with a small group, and then you kind of hope for a multiplier effect, for a domino effect on what you did, no? So what do you think, what target group do you think it might help you to reach the highest number of teenagers in order to spread your methods, your message, and to affect them the most? Genuine question, like I have my idea in mind, but I don't know if we, what were you thinking?
I think that I get inside in many classes and I see the group that is very divided, 2, 3, 1, and this is a really bad impact for a teacher. And I think that the better impact in start to get, for example, in a class and see the group working together, all together, not without preference because it's impossible, but where in a class everybody feel good. I don't feel like I don't feel well with my classmate. I don't want to go to school because I don't feel well with them. So I think that if the kids, the teenager, start to feel good in the class, they will go more to the school. So they how to say, their motivation to study will improve. I think that.
But what do you think is the origin of this? Do you think it's the group of students or is the environment in school that is created by teachers, management of the school, and whatsoever?
I think that the origin is that you feel good in the middle of the other people, that you understand that your feelings are the same of your peers. Okay, you are not alone. When you understand that you are not alone, you start to be more relaxed and talk with the other, and you feel good. The problem is that they don't talk each other, and I wanted to make one step to make them talk each other, to make them understand that what they are feeling is the same in terms of love, sexuality, learnings, fears. Okay,
so
they keep everything inside,
yeah,
but they need to share.
If I got it right, you are pointing, still, I mean, as you were at the beginning, you're pointing directly to the teenagers. To you, the key is to involve them directly and to make them understand directly in a way that they can make other teenagers, their peers, to understand that they're doing the same. It's as valid as targeting directly the teachers. It's just that, of course, your approach in the activities will change. If you want to train teachers that are 35, 40, 45, or if you want to directly work with kids that are between 14 and 17. So just wanted to get this a bit clear, because it seemed like talking about it, we started with kids, we were shifting slowly to the teachers, but now we're back to the kids.
Yes, because the first focus are the kids, the first, but in the future, my objective is bigger, okay. But yes, of course, we need to think about the project more than 30 minutes, just, yeah.
No worries, no worries. I don't know if also Sarah and Maurice wanted to add something.
Nothing particular, actually. I really like the idea, and I share the concern for young kids, you know, to open up about each other. And I mean, I just want to say that it's a really sensitive topic, so maybe they don't talk also because they, I don't know, have some really big issues. So I think a little bit of like someone who is a professional in the field might be required beginning to really ease this process.
Okay. Thanks.
For me, it's also a good project that tries to tackle some difficulties that all of us have lived in our teenage years. And the only curiosity is if you would apply, if this project is purely experimental, or if you would apply some kind of methodology that has already been used in order to process this problem.
I already experiment by myself, and I know perfectly that it works. But I need that is not enough. So I will start for example, in different countries, like an experiment, and if it works, like a good practice.
Okay, so I mean, there was a very nice discussion about Chiara's idea. So it's really constructive, and I think honestly that if you like reflect on this for a few hours with all the feedback you got, you might actually already been able to structure properly a project. It's a very interesting idea, and it was a very nice discussion. But let's move forward because it's lunchtime for everyone. So I swear me and Sam will try to keep it shorter with our feedbacks, like straight on point without a lot of commas and other things. So who wants to go next? We have 3 to go.
Can go. Oh, sorry.
Sarah told first. At least to me, I received first Sarah's voice. So
okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so my idea is that students in school need better instruments from school to understand the society and the world we live in and how much it's connected. So the idea is that curricula in schools, such as history or like language, culture, class, could be improved to address specific topics such as European like colonial history or the way Europe has had an impact in the world, because it really defines the way the world is now, like social inequalities, and even if it seems far away, it's actually really important in our everyday life, okay? So in order to improve school curricula, there is actually an instrument called Global Citizenship Education, which was developed by the UN, that could help teachers create a more like innovative cross-sectoral and multicultural curriculum for students. So this is like the general context, and the need is that students need more challenging school curricula that could help them understand better how deeply all the world is connected and how this reflects on their actual life, on the society they live in. Maybe it seems a little bit complex. It's actually the topic I wrote my dissertation on, my master's dissertation on. So it was kind of hard to like write a few words about it. So anyway, the objects are to enhance school teachers' expertise and knowledge on global citizenship education and to promote youth participation, European citizenship, and civic engagement. the target groups are the teachers and like educators and also students. And the outputs could be like discussion groups and research on the way school subjects such as history or language are conducted, both on the teachers and students level, like to get feedback from both these groups, and then create a digital toolkit that aims at improving this curricula in a cross-sectional and multicultural way. So I figured the activity would be like a kickoff meeting with teachers, a questionnaire for both teachers and students on the way these programs are at the moment, a training with teachers on like a transnational level on the topic of global citizenship education and all the instruments that they could use in class with the students. Then a local activity with the teachers' respective classes to get into action and to foster active protagonism of the students. And then two workshops to create the toolkit. So first, like a discussion on the content, and then a workshop on the instruments. So if it's digital, like a website or a platform or something more specific. Then an activity to actually test this toolkit with the students. Well, of course, a final like feedback meeting, and then dissemination of the tools to all the institutions. And since it's like all school related, I figured the partner would be 5 classes of partner institutions. And I chose Spain, Belgium, Greece, Poland, and of course Italy. Actually, I thought more of the history of these countries. I imagined this project focused mostly on like history and colonial history. So these were like the first countries that pop up in my mind. So that's it.
So, Sarah, did you study me and Samantha's profile on LinkedIn? Because she's graduated in linguistic mediations and I graduated in history. So, and you're targeting history and languages.
Yeah, I know. I graduated from like intercultural mediation as well, and then international cooperation. So this is like my background, basically. So.
Good, good. I will let Samantha go first this time.
No, I'm elaborating. If you're ready, go.
Okay, yeah, well, I will be short too. I think it was, well, you got me on the topic, so I won't talk about that. Otherwise, I will end up talking 20 minutes like I did with Chiara's idea. So you got me on the topic. I think it's really on point. You got, and I don't know if you changed it after we made the other two notice that it wasn't youth but school.
I definitely did, yes.
You got the sector with school education. I think also the composition of the partnership, it's good, even though maybe if it's not directly a school that it's handling the project. So let's think that you're working with us at Mina Vaganti NGO and we are part of the partnership. So there will be something more than just 5 classes involved. I liked scroll a bit up so I can see the activities again, but I think they were mostly okay. I wouldn't include maybe the kickoff with the teachers, but then again depends of the. It's usually at the kickoff you have also like legal arrangement and this kind of stuff. So there are usually either the legal representatives or manager type of the partners in the kickoff, but it's like really minor thing. And I liked, and I think that most of the activities are really on point. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked it. There are minor things to adjust, I think, like the partnership, and well, you already adjust the sector, so they will need to be probably fitted a bit more with the specific sectoral priority. I mean, you will have to play a bit with that. But the idea of the questionnaire survey on satisfaction on the level that it's right now, their education, it's something that it's used and it's really useful. The training with teachers, we will need probably also in this case, like who's training the teachers if there are only schools involved, you know? So these kind of things, a bit more variegated partnership. So not only schools, something a mix in between, also in order to use non-formal education tools, especially with the trainings for teachers. But for the rest, to me, right now, it seems more or less okay. I like the idea. I like the way you presented it. It's really well structured. And I mean, on the topic, it's a soft spot for history all way long, all my life, forever and ever. So I'll leave the floor to Sam.
Thank you. Okay. Now, first I have just one question regarding the two workshops. What do you mean that they will be done transnational? Like that there will be a meeting in which they will do the workshop to create the toolkit?
Yeah, like I figured that the teachers would meet from, like, the teachers from all different countries would meet and work, like do the workshops, and then go back in their own country and do the activities with their the kids in their schools. So when I wrote transnational, I meant like a meeting with the teachers from the different countries.
Okay, so in this case I have feedback. So if the toolkit is gonna be one of the intellectual output of your project, I mean, it's not feasible that you create a toolkit in like 2, 3 or 4 or 5 days, even 7 days of meeting. So usually the time period to create and develop like in a proper way an intellectual output is minimum 5-6 months. So, I mean, you can have the meeting transnationally, but it will be like not a meeting specific for the workshop. It can be like an intermediate transnational partner meetings in which they can do a short sort of debriefing regarding the toolkit and how to proceed. And then when they go back, they like each partner develop the part that is in charge for to have the final toolkit. But it's like based on the experience and also in the eyes of an evaluator, like he will see that it's not feasible to create a specific toolkit like in just meetings international. So you need to work and you need like more time in terms of months really to develop the toolkit. Also because usually the testing phase is part of this period. So if you decide that is 6 months, usually it's like 4 months of development. The 5th month you have the testing and then gather the feedback, and the 6th month you finalize. So you always need to think about this. And also when these or the trainings, usually you don't produce the output there because you need months to develop the output. You can create something that is the starting point, basically.
Yeah, I actually pictured like on a 2 years plan, let's say. So the first year is about the questionnaire and the instruments of global citizenship education, while the second year is more on actually creating the toolkit. So like you said, it could be spread on like 5-6 months, and there could be more steps, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, can you please go up? No, I just have one concern, because of course you would like to improve, let's say, the curriculum of these subjects. Just one thing of my concern is that each country that you're involving has a different school system, and usually, especially if you're using non-formal education methods or different methodologies that are not, let's say, inside that formal education frame, it's really difficult to integrate them in the formal education system. So this can be a long-term, let's say, perspective, meaning that, okay, sorry, I need to, because my laptop is basically going. Okay, perfect. So basically, at the beginning, I mean, you can have it like a sort of extracurricular activities that you can propose to the school, because if you write for sure that you're going to, let's say, change the curriculum in the school systems regarding that subject, is not really feasible. I mean, you're promising something that is not really easy to do, especially because here we're talking about different school systems. But to avoid this, you can actually work on, let's say, extracurricular activities in which you're really going into deep in these subjects. And then one of the long-term impact that you would like to achieve is that you create this connection with the schools, and you try to propose these sort of activities to be integrated in the school system. That can be an option, because of course you don't have the power to change the school systems of 4 or 5, 6 countries with a project, but you can create something that then you will propose, hoping that they will accept. And that's it. Short, on the point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the feedback of the others?
I actually like the project very much, and I mean, I find it very useful, and not only for young people, also for adults that would like to have a job and have to collaborate or have partnership with other cultures. Maybe it can be useful in different areas, but I don't know. I have no comments because I see it feasible, and then I also see like something useful. I would love to have this.
Okay. Well, you know, I mean, this is when you say you can see it also in other sectors, in other fields, with other target groups, it's not completely new. The possibility to readapt a project or maybe have a follow-up. It's actually something that it's looked for. To, okay, we did this with students in high school, it worked well, so maybe we can do it with universities, we can do it with just adults that want to learn more about this kind of stuff. We can do it with kids. Yeah. So, you know, it's not completely new as an idea. It's a project that can be adapted to different fields. Yeah, I see the same. What about the others? Maurice, Viviana, Chiara?
I agree with Giuseppina. I think that is very useful and very interesting. Yeah, congratulations, Sara.
Thank you.
Me also have no feedbacks, just it's a well-structured project, very comprehensive, so well done.
Yeah, same here. It's great. You planning on actually writing it and presenting it?
Sorry?
Are you planning on making it happen?
Oh, I know. I don't know. I mean, I just.
You remember from the first lesson,
so.
she would need an organization.
Well, we can be partners. Remember that.
Okay, good. Wait, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen now. Okay.
But really, congrats, Sarah. It was very, very nice idea, very well structured and very well presented.
Thank you.
So Maurice and
Okay, so I
Viviana.
think that then the next one, yes, was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can go.
Viviana.
Wait, share screen. Oh, sorry, this is not really working. Sorry, it's not going to work because it says I need to quit Zoom before I can share my screen. And then log
With
back.
Zoom?
Yeah, quit the call and then log back in. But let's try again.
Or if you, okay.
No, here is it.
You
Yes.
go. Okay. So my project is in the adult sector, and it's specifically a project about helping migrants go through driving school in Europe. So the context is that often migrants that arrive in Europe have to undergo a very long process to become employable. But after they become employable, the job pool that they can choose from is limited to jobs that they can reach with the means of transport that they have. And that very often is not a car because they don't have a European driving license. Migrants very often have a driving license back in their home country, but they cannot use their driving license here. So after a while, in the long run, this is very detrimental to their employability, to their social mobility, and to their integration within European society. For migrants that try to get a European driving license, that is often very difficult because they have to navigate the complex system of driving schools and driving tests, and that is in a different language than their native language. So it's just very difficult and they have very little help. So the DRIVE project, the aim is to establish, first of all, a training program for intercultural mediators that will then work with NGOs and driving schools in the partner countries, and that will deliver support and basically help for migrants to go through driving schools and to pass the driving tests. So if we look at the objective, first of all, create and implement a training program for the intercultural mediators. So my objective is to train 50 intercultural mediators in each country so they can provide the support to migrants. Second objective is to engage driving schools to work with the intercultural mediators, and then indirectly to increase integration and employability to migrants. Direct target intercultural mediators at NGOs, direct target driving schools, and indirect target migrants. And then in terms of the activities that we would specifically be doing is, first of all, start with the project meeting to establish the 6 master trainers that will go to each specific country to deliver 5 training sessions to the intercultural mediators and 1 presentation to 10 driving schools. And then in terms of material, there will be a guidebook for the intercultural mediators, a guidebook for the driving schools, promotion materials, and a project report. That's it.
Can I ask the first question? If you go down back to the training sessions, do you mean 5 training sessions with 50 intercultural mediators in 3 countries? So it's 50 per country per session, 50 in total among the whole countries.
So to train, and like in my idea, if you want to train an intercultural mediator, you have to do 5, like that mediator has to do 5 training sessions with you. So it's basically a small course for the mediator.
Okay.
So the 50 mediators in each country would attend the course. So it's 50 mediators in the first country, 50 mediators in the second country, and 50 mediators in the third country that would do the course.
And they need to be the, well, of course, you said you need to train them 5 times. So there will be the same people for the 5 sessions.
Yeah.
An ambitious goal to have 50 people to come and come back for 5 times.
Yeah, probably.
But not impossible. Okay. Ambitious, but not impossible. I will start just with one thing, then I don't know if Sam wants to go first, but you have to know that back in the days, me and Sam had a very long discussion about the definition of migrant.
I can imagine.
And very, very long discussion about the definition of migrant. So it's not to give for granted when you talk about migrants that you're talking about someone entering the European Union, because you're talking about European driving system. It's difficult for migrants. So just for you to know, because a migrant can also be someone from, don't know, random country, someone from Poland that moved to Germany to work. It's still a migrant. It's within the European Union. So just when you start with the premises to develop the project, to keep this in mind. So there are like terminology is important, and sometimes it can be pointed out when it's used in a way that it's too general. Like I got what you were saying while explaining the project, to which kind of migrants were you referring, but there are proper terminology that the Commission wants to read in this kind of phases. Getting to the project, I found it really a not so common idea. So it was really interesting, because you have a lot of projects giving them basic digital skills or linguistic skills, this kind of stuff. To think about giving driving skills, it's very innovative in a way. I honestly don't recall any project doing this. It might be a complete first in the history of Erasmus+. So that's absolutely a plus. But again, like to justify this kind of activities and project, you really need to get into the needs of your target group. So to get specific on which kind of migrants are we talking about, how do we know that they need this kind of skills? So luckily for us, we live in the 21st century, and Eurostat makes statistics about everything that was ever done every 2 days, every year. So it can be fun, the info. For the rest of the project, I think the objectives are quite feasible, even though engaging driving schools can be difficult, and maybe a bit more specific on what kind of driving schools. How do you think you can involve them? What are the limits? Like, do they need to speak English? Do they need to be working with certain social classes? You know, just to be used to work with a specific target group. At least I would think also about this. Mm-hmm. But I think the objectives are feasible, like the idea, the activities that you foresee, as we said already, ambitious goals for the training sessions, but not impossible. Might need a lot of work and networking to get 50 people to come for 5 times. but it's very nice. And again, I mean, I was kind of like disoriented by the idea. So, but in a good way, in a good way. Like I would have never thought about it. So it's I love this kind of creativity. So with few adjustments, I think it can become a very interesting project. It might need a bit more work on the partnership, because you say here Italy, Germany, and two question marks. So, but I'm pretty sure that there are countries in which it's even more difficult to get into the labor market. So really works related to driving can be vital for people arriving to Europe. So good feedback. Disoriented, but good feedback.
To be fair, it's not really my idea. It's more idea of people that I work with, like guys that had received their legal status as refugees and could were here and they were looking for jobs and they were like, I speak Italian, I'm a refugee now, everything is great, but I can't get to the jobs and I can't get a driving license because it's just so difficult. And they could drive, so it was quite shocking to me. Yeah.
But you see, I mean, you already have the basis for a real need that most of people wouldn't think about, and it will cut out your competition already.
Yeah.
So Sam, didn't want to, but I talked a lot because I was disoriented.
Finally. Okay, so I agree with Patrizia regarding the target group of migrants. Yeah. So in this case, you should specify to which one of them you're referring to in order for the evaluator to really understand which, let's say, sub-target group you're referring to. Then I have just one question to be more understandable. So who is gonna do this program? The mediators or the driving schools?
The mediators. So the idea is to train the mediators and then have a partnership with driving schools. So the mediator could go into the driving school and work with them. So it wouldn't be the driving schools given this project. They would just let the mediator go into the driving school to work with them.
Okay, so and you're thinking to create two different programs because some people, their driving license is not recognized, but they know how to drive actually, and there are others that they come in the new country but they don't have the driving license, so they need to start from zero. So would you focus on both of them or just on one of these sub target groups?
Well, I think the most important part of the project is even before all of this. So to basically explain how driving schools work, what documents you need, what kind of where you need to go, all that stuff before you even start preparing for the exam. And then the idea would be both. So there would be the part on the theory, which is usually more difficult for people that can drive already, but they've not done theory in Italy or in Europe anywhere. But then a second part also for support with drives.
Okay, good. Just one thing that maybe you need to check if you would like to implement these ideas is if the mediators would be allowed to teach them how to drive, or if in that specific case you need someone from the driving school, legally, just to check these kind of things. Well, yeah, it's really original because I agree with Patrizio. I'm involved in a lot of projects regarding migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers, and usually we focus on different type of competencies. And this is the first time that actually I see this kind of topic. So yes, it can be really, really original. Just one thing to specify the support that the mediator is going to give to the migrants, so to see concretely what they're going to do. Because there is the one risk is that the evaluator can think that it's not enough what you're doing with the project because you're covering only that aspect. So you're really, really going in specific. So like you should make them understand that actually even if you're focusing only just in the driving aspect, you're gonna do like a lot of things that will be really impacting their life and supporting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for me, it's just this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't know if the others have some feedback. If you were disoriented like us by the idea.
I have to
Go.
Okay, sorry, Chiara.
No.
It's because I've been living in Denmark. I don't know if I told you, but a lot of migrants coming from abroad were actually drivers. So I saw in this project also an opportunity to have more chances to land another job, like a driver, or those kind of sectors that are lacking people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very nice idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also think that it's a really good idea, really useful, and I love your way to write. You're really focused on. I think that your ideas are really clear and it appears on your abstract.
Thank you.
Sarah Morris?
Yeah, also
Morris.
for me, this project is very, very good. I envy you because I didn't have this idea. No, it's very well structured, and yes, I like it.
Yeah, it's a really empowering concept. It's probably a service that is lacking at the moment, so it answers to a real need, which I believe it's really important. I was just wondering, what would the trainings be about with the 50 intercultural mediators?
So I guess even the mediators need to understand how driving schools work and how driving tests are done and all of that.
Okay, so like technical, really okay.
I think it might be also on the particular soft skill to guide them through a difficult system, not only like all the legal stuff, you need to do this and that, but also, I mean, we're talking about cultural mediators, so they already know something about it, but like, look, you're talking to a refugee, so you need to guide him, it's a new culture, it's a new thing, don't give everything for granted, this kind of stuff, you know? So it would be probably, in my idea, a mix in between the actual legal knowledge that you need in order to guide them and the soft skill also to lead them personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Really, congrats, Viviana. It was a very, very, very nice idea.
Thank you.
And then, last but not least, Maurice. Hit us with your idea.
Wait, stop sharing. Okay.
Can you see?
I think in a moment we will be able to. Yes.
Okay. So my project is about coding. I mean ICT coding. So the title is Code for Future, and I would like to involve, I don't know if I've done it well, but the partnership would be very, very large, since it would include NGOs, high school, universities, and companies coming from Italy, Germany, Spain, and Slovenia. So in order to cover a broad geographical area. And about the context, so we all know that nowadays ICT requirements are very, very important. They are growing exponentially. So in the future, research say that coding will be a basic requirement for most basic cognitive and high cognitive jobs, different levels. So from I don't know, advocates to cashiers and stuff, they will need to know how to manage with softwares and stuff like that. So many formal education institutions, whether high schools or universities, do not provide courses on ICT coding in their curricular activities. And I'm referring not to those institutions that are, let's say, targeted on like ICT, but all the others. And more enterprises right now are turning to complex ICT tools to fulfill their daily activities, while they are integrating their businesses with different softwares that, of course, derive from coding. So with this project, the objective would be to enhance the ICT skills of young adults, thus improving the possibility for them to enter the labor market or to progress in their job transition. So they're already doing a job, and the company requires them to integrate their skills with some ICT. This project may help them to progress and to get a transition, to have more skills about what the company requires. Then the second objective would be to develop and test and implement a flexible and modular course design and appropriate forms of assessment. So it would be a tool that would allow them to follow a course on ICT and to have a tool that will allow them to have a self-assessment phase. The outputs would be, okay, these are not very innovative, I know, but it would be a manual for teaching institutions on how to develop education path related to ICT coding for young adults, and then the digital training and testing platform or tool. And the activities would involve the cooperation meetings among partners for exchanging good practices and teaching experiences in order to create this manual. The second activity involves developing of the online digital platform in order to provide a course on coding and self-assessment tool. The target would be educational institutions and young adults aged 18 to 30, so not only those that have just graduated, let's say, but also adults that are already involved in some kind of job that necessitates a transition in their job with adding skills. And that would be it.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Maurice. I want to start telling you this is quite a hot topic. So lately, a lot of projects have been written on it. From the point of view of like fitting into a priority, or like writing something that might be effective in the eyes of an evaluator, you are totally on point with the topic. It's a lot have been written about it. It's a good choice for the topic. I think you presented well why you want to do this project. So needs analysis was well done. I mean, of course, for 30 minutes and written in 10 lines, you can go more into details, but It's it was presenting the right points on why you want to do this and why it's needed to do a project on this topic. Couple of things, so don't beat yourself up saying the manual is not innovative. What is innovative was inside the manual. Okay. So if you're writing a new methodology or something like this, it's it can be super innovative and still be in a manual, so don't worry. And the digital training, like creating, let's say, an e-learning percord, like a path, it can be standard, more or less, intellectual output, so that will be also quite on point. I have a couple of questions, maybe more than points on your project that maybe you can clarify to me. So I think target group, it's a bit confusing. So you're targeting young adult 18-30, but then you're targeting high schools and NGO and higher educations. I'm not understanding if you're targeting students like regular students, or if you're targeting youth in general, young adults in general, so let's place it in between, youth and adults. But I didn't understand well which one were you targeting, and most important, the methodology. Like, are you targeting, I don't know, students hoping to use non-formal education in order to get them more involved into learning these skills? I didn't, these things were not clear for me. So do you want to use non-formal education? It's gonna be the NGOs involved in the consortium to lead this kind of training, to bring these methodologies, or is it going to be the opposite? It's like you want the higher education institutions that will be in the consortium to give the tools to NGOs to work with youth outside their system, and then this was a bit confusing to me. So I got the topic, very good. I got why you want to do a project about this. I didn't really get the how.
Okay. Yes, basically, okay. Yes. Okay, do I need to explain?
If you want, I don't know if Sam wants to add a couple of questions, and maybe you can go at the end with all the answers, okay. Or if they were the same questions of Sam.
No, I don't have question. I just have one question, and that's it. But he can answer your questions, and then I can ask mine.
Yeah. Basically, I was thinking about involving young adults aged 18-30, so those that have graduated from high school, let's say. And the involvement here in the partnership, high school would be like for those schools that are technical or professional schools that have like the knowledge about ICT, in the ICT field, that could cooperate with NGOs in order to give them the knowledge, in order for NGOs to develop a non-formal educational path, to say. And also companies would have this role for providing the material and the requirements that they usually ask to the NGOs in order for them to develop the training material and to develop the non-formal path for the participants. But okay. I share with you the point that it was not clear, and we need to fix this.
The basics. So, I mean, with working few days on it, I'm pretty sure you can clarify a lot of things and structure a very nice project. Now we'll leave the floor to Sam. I just had these couple of questions.
Okay. So from my perspective, this project stands on the line between the adults and the vets sectors, because the target groups that you choose are for sure the adults. So they can be like students that just finished high school, so they need to approach the labor market. Can be people that are actually working, but they should like upskill. They should go through an upskill process to adapt themselves to the new market, and etc. So the target groups are more going to the adults sector, but actually when we're talking about coding, it's hard skills. So it's high ICT skills, but hard skills related to the ICTs. We are not talking about the soft skills. So that goes more on the VIT, so something professional, high skills related to the companies. So basically, it depends really on. So the question of Patrice was really, that was my second question. So thank you very much to ask. If you would like to like purely teach them or pass to them the ICT skills and codings, like so really going into technical, or if you would like to make them develop these skills through non-formal education. Because if you're still with non-formal education, let's say you are still in the adults, but then if you're purely technical, then you're going to VIT sector, which both of them are good, I think, because it's a really nice topic. So it's just up to you to decide on which dark side you would like to go, in the adult side or in the vet side. Let's say that in my opinion, I would go for vet, because in this case, like for the labor market, if we're talking about coding, at least for me as a trainer perspective, I will go through vet and be really technical and to involve these different target groups, because basically it's the same. Even if the age is different, at that moment their skills are the same, because students that are just graduated from high school, let's say, they don't teach them coding. People that are already working, but they don't have the skills and they need to upskill, they are starting also from zero. So the nice thing is that you can involve different age target groups with this specific program. So that is really, really nice. And in that case, I will go with vet, in my opinion, but you can also still be in adults. But just think about it that in adults, you're not working with art skills. In that way, you can work with ICT, but not in the sense that I think that you mean when you were writing this proposal. And in that case, of course, the partnership change. It's not compulsory that you have the high school as official partner. When you're writing project, you also have the associated partners. So through your network, you can have some entities that can help you reach the target group, helps you with dissemination. So they're not, they don't have legal responsibilities in the project, but they are your supporter, and you can create a network of associated partners. So you can frame it, the partnership, in a more specific way. Then regarding the outputs, I agree with Patrizio, it's not the box, it's the content, of course. We have a lot of manuals, but that's depending on what you're putting inside and what are the contents of the manual. And I'm really curious of how it will be the platform, because whenever you have something that is self-learning, it's always something challenging, especially when it's something really technical and in a sort of way like difficult, usually, at least for me, because I'm not like a number lady, let's say, and coding lady in this case. But it will be really interesting, I mean, to try and take this challenge. So I think that you just need to choose one sector, and then you can really refine the project proposal based on the sector that you will choose. And then I finished, that's it. So what about the others? Do you have some questions or feedback for Moody's? You destroyed
It
them
was
with the
too
coding,
clear.
Maurice.
Sorry. Didn't mind to.
It was also interesting to see a lot of different ideas, like how we moved from things in the sphere of social sciences to, and actually I was surprised that it wasn't Giuseppina to go into something directly like more strictly science
Actually,
or technology.
I thought of it, but then I didn't do it. But okay.
Well, you tried something out of your comfort zone and to try something different, so that's totally good. So if there are no further questions for Maurice,
But
I think we can.
He did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I'm not asking question because I don't like it. It's just because I'm like, wow. And I know how much companies are looking for this. So it's just like, you got this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a hot topic, as we said. There are a lot of projects on this, and it's really something that will attract the eye of an evaluator. When you're talking about coding, talking about in general ICT skills, I mean, to think that one of the main priorities of the European Union in general is to increase and improve digital skills, digital literacy possibility for European citizens to improve their employability through digital skills. So it's already a big priority of the Union in general. Then looking directly on the labor market, coding, ICT, it's a super hot topic. You were really on point, Maurice. Really on point. And so I think we can start to wrap up a bit. What was this very intense 3 lessons basic course in project management and designing. So I think that we can, we hope that now you have a clearer idea about what are possibilities for fundings in the European Union, what are the main funding schemes that you can use, and what they are looking for, what you can do with these fundings. And well, if I can give an advice at the end while writing a project, it's really simple. It's something that they tell you in elementary school. That it's when you do something, always keep in mind what, why, how I want to do it, and to whom I want to give benefit. So, or to whom I want to involve. These things always in mind while you're writing the project, so you won't lose track. You will keep it straight to the point, and you will increase your possibilities. Then, of course, we talked a lot of times about creativity, about trying to think outside the box, trying to see what are the needs that you can see around you in society, and try to address them with these kind of projects. To me, it was a very nice experience to get to know all of you and to see the ideas that you had that were really nice and feasible. And I mean, really showed that you understood what we're talking about and that you can get really passionate about this topic, coming up with very innovative and interesting ideas. I hope that we will have the chance to work together, maybe in the future as partner, or if you will ever want to try the experience to work for MVNGO. We're often looking for new collaborators, so we can keep that in mind. I'll leave also the floor to Sam for some last words. But it was really, really nice for me to get to know all of you and to exchange ideas and knowledge with each other. and I wish you the best for your future. And hopefully will be with us in a partnership or directly working with us. If not, just good luck. Sam, you can go.
No, I was waiting just to be sure that you were really leaving the floor to me. You talked too much. Okay. No, it was really, really interesting sessions experience for me. Like we usually work with a lot of people, and in my experience, I met a lot of people that were approaching the project design sector. It seems like at the beginning, it seems a lot like confusing. There are a lot of information, a lot of things. So we tried to make you understand as much as possible of this word. Of course, we pushed you in the to fight directly to the challenge, but that's because it's nice. So like we wanted to give you the information, provide you with the basics, but also to challenge you a little bit to be a bit more interactive and to stimulate your creativity trying to write an abstract. So I'm really happy actually. So for the first experience of this course, I'm really happy about it. You have really nice ideas and different ideas and original. I mean, you're focusing on specific aspects. It's not just the old same. Like, for example, now I read tons of projects about social entrepreneurship, but now we are in 2020. The first part of Erasmus Plus is ending. So I really like the things that you were focusing on something particular, that you were not going for the common topics or whatever, but you were trying to go and search a little bit, to go more a little bit into deep. So I was really happy about it. And I think that also the president is here, because I saw the reaction. Yes, he is here. Okay. So, President, if you would like to close the course or say something.
I don't put the video on just because I'm not in my best conditions, but yeah, thank you for your time. Time is precious, and you dedicated some to us, and we are very happy about the outcomes. I was just listening me while I was doing something else, and congrats to everyone. Actually, really good ideas, and I hope this is just the beginning of a path for all of us together, or in some ways. You might start working in some other institution all over the world doing project designing, and you might remember why we don't include Mina Vaganti NGO in a project, for instance. It's already a way to cooperate. We are all hungry. So, time to go to eat. Thank you very much, and see you maybe for next modules. We can discuss separately, not now. Maybe some of you is interested. Thank you again, and see you next.